Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Lynette Clement. I'm the program director for the online Master of Science in Human Capital Development program, as well as the online Bachelor of Arts in Organizational Leadership program at LaSalle University. So again, now is the time to mute your microphone or telephone so that there's no background noise during the session. This webinar will be recorded. So thank you for your interest in today's webinar on employee engagement. So this webinar is provided to you today by the Master of Science in Human Capital Development program, which is a 2-year program for individuals who want to learn about the importance of developing the skills and talents of employees in the workplace. So our courses are 8-week courses, and our curriculum is aligned with SHRM's HR Curriculum Guidebook, and the GRE or GMAT are not requirements for this program. Today's webinar is also sponsored by the online Bachelor of Arts in Organizational Leadership program at LaSalle, which is offered in a 7-week online format to undergraduates who want to develop their leadership skills and advance in their careers. So if you're interested in either program, please email me at the end of today's session. So after today's webinar, you will receive information via the email that you registered for on how to obtain the HRCI recertification credits for completing today's webinar. We will also save time at the end for questions as well. But if you have questions during anything that is presented today, feel free to type it in the chat box area and we'll answer the questions accordingly. Again, thank you for your interest in today's webinar on employee engagement, what it really means. Our guest speaker for today is Nick Gianoulis. Nick Gianoulis, I'm sorry, it's a tongue twister. Nick Gianoulis is the founder of the Fun Department, which is a consulting and training company that has been featured on CNN, BBC News, Washington Post, TEDx, and numerous other media outlets. And they have clients that range from Fortune 100 companies to those with as few as 10 employees. So Nick is known as the godfather of fun. He began his company after experiencing firsthand the enhanced culture and business results of fun during his 20-year corporate management tenure with a company that embraced a work hard, play hard culture. Nick is also the co-author of Playing It Forward and creator of Breakbox, a business-to-business team building subscription service. The Fun Department is also said to have delivered more fun in the workplace than any other company in the world, building brief, consistent, engaging, and sustainable activities into the corporate culture. And thanks to the growing number of millennials in the workplace, this is an important thing to do more than ever before. So in 2018, his company partnered with Delivering Happiness at Zappos to offer their clients full service culture solutions. So welcome and thank you, Nick. I am now going to turn the webinar over to you.
Thank you so much, Lynette. I really appreciate it, and I'm honored and pleased to be on with everybody today. I was just sharing with Lynette that we're at a major client today, and we're 9 months into an engagement with Delivering Happiness, and their main objective was to drive engagement for their employees. So this is a subject near and dear to my heart, and I'm always happy to share what we've learned along the way. So if I could just take a minute, and Lynette, if you wouldn't mind, if you could share that, or maybe I can do it from here.
Yeah, I've turned the computer over to you as the host. Yeah, okay. So you should be able to share your screen.
Let's see, it should come up. But I think I see it here, yeah. So, yeah. So
there it is.
There we go. Thank you. So we'll talk about some of these statistics, but I thought at first just share a little background and history with the audience about our journey and learning on the subject of engagement. As Lynette indicated in the bio, this really started and was born out of an experience that I had in the corporate world many years ago, and really trying to drive engagement. You know, it was my primary responsibility was to motivate, teams of people at various branches within this company. And I was fascinated as a young manager how well this company performed as an independent in a company in a very competitive space with large national competitors. They led the industry in profitability and retention and kind of all the desirable outputs that you would desire in a business. And I thought it was really fascinating that they embraced fun and happiness in the workplace. So I already knew how to work hard, so I decided that I was going to really focus on this fun part, because I thought there was really something there, and my hunch was it was their competitive advantage. So I started to research the subject starting as far back as 25 years ago, and there was not a lot of data to support fun and happiness in the workplace. There just weren't enough people doing it, but I knew that it was part of the experience I was having and getting great business results by incorporating fun in the workplace. And I knew that other companies, and some of them you may know, companies like Southwest Airlines, who's been around for a long time, Zappos, and some others who are the more notable people in the industry that have been doing this for years very successfully. There was some data to go on, but not a lot. And I just continued to research it. And what I thought, my theory was at the time, that if you treated fun and happiness at work as a process instead of as an event, because most people think of fun at work as an event. So we have a holiday party or a summer picnic, and oftentimes on a weekend, and you're hoping that motivates and appreciates your employees and drives engagement. And in fact, that really doesn't work. And most people would actually prefer to be at home with their loved ones after work or on weekends, family and friends and so forth. So my theory was, what if we took those bigger events, often on weekends, and broke them into small, consistent chunks throughout the course of the year? Wouldn't that yield a better result? And that was really the hypothesis, if you will, for starting the fun department. And I thought, if every company has a marketing department, operations, and so forth, everybody should have a fun department. So I formed a committee, and it was called the Circuit Club. We thought that was a cute name, since we were in the electrical wholesale industry. And we started planning these small micro events, I'll call them, and 15 to 30 minutes once a month. So I had a committee of 10 people. That we had 12 different locations in the Northeast, and we would meet every couple of weeks and plan these activities. And it was wildly successful. And even in downtimes and bad economies, this company continued to thrive. Retention was extremely high in a tough industry, and profitability, and again, all the desirable business outcomes. So I was convinced at that point that this really, there was something there, that this really held true, that people really responded and liked fun and a break at work, and that really helped motivate employees. So I did decide to, start the company. I quit the big corporate gig. I had a really great job back then, and decided to take a chance and pursue this dream. Little did I know back then the impact that this would have on engagement and culture in the workplace, and how today, and what you can see on your screen are just some of the statistics that bear out the effects of fun and happiness in the workplace. And I'm not sure how this is showing on your screen. I'm hoping that I'm scrolling a little bit, but I'll just point something out. You might see that while there's all these enhancements in due to fun and happiness, but unfortunately 7 out of 10 workers are disengaged in the workplace. So there's still a very small amount of companies that practice this very successfully. They happen to be the most high functioning, self-actualized, profitable companies in their industry. So that's what's driving all the activity, because people are realizing that it works and the data is there to support it, yet still companies are slow to change. But there's a lot of activity in this space today, and we're pleased to be a part of it. So what I really hope to do today is share our process and model for more effective engagement and happiness in the workplace. You'll hear me use the terms fun and happiness interchangeably, and that's the way it appears in the data as well. So when these studies are taking place, some refer to fun in the workplace, others refer to happiness, but they kind of go hand in hand. I will tell you that we are partnered with, as Lynette mentioned, Delivering Happiness. They're one of the premier culture gurus in the industry. They're the consulting company that was formed out of Zappos and the success that Zappos had in incorporating fun and happiness. And they now teach companies how to do this. So together we're called Delivering Happiness and Fun, DHF. So it's, those two, I just wanted to qualify that they go together. The other thing I want to qualify, I'm always quick to do this, is that fun and happiness cannot make a bad company good or great. It's almost insulting to employees when you try to, do something fun when you're not already treating people fairly and paying decent wages and, well-managed company. So we tend to be the icing on the cake. We tend to be able to enhance already good companies who are really paying attention to their employees. So I just wanted to point that out, because sometimes we get the call and somebody will say, geez, I know this horrible company, can you help them? And there's more foundational work that they need to do prior to thinking about, enhancing their company with fun and happiness. So that being said, I'll take you a little bit through our process, but before we do that, I just did want to, look at some of these statistics that how fun and happiness can impact your bottom line. So you can see, innovation is huge. So technology companies today, that report 300% more innovation. A lot of venture capital funding will not even, the venture capitalists really they're only interested in companies who have great culture, or they're really paying attention to their people. They're not as concerned about what the technology is. They know that culture, happiness at work ultimately drives business results. So Harvard Business Review reported 300% more innovation, 31% increase in productivity. If you can say Greenberg and Arawaka 10 times fast, I'll give you a $2 bill. So Greenberg and Arawaka, that's one of their surveys, but companies who do this effectively outperform their competitors by 31%. Higher retention, according to Gallup, 44%. I've seen those numbers as high as 65% higher retention, but I tend to refer to the Gallup number. And 37% increase in sales, 125% less burnout, fewer sick days, less turnover. So any one of these statistics, I think, are really a strong argument independently of the other statistics for trying to incorporate fun and happiness in the workplace. But together, they're really powerful, and they make up for some really great companies. And the one at the top of the page is 81% of employees in companies rated great in Fortune's 100 best companies to say that they work in a fun environment. The reason I like that statistic is because it's from an employee's perspective. So if you ask an employee what makes a great culture, what makes them happy at work, and fun has the highest correlation of any other factor. So while I wouldn't mislead anyone and say fun is the only thing that motivates people or engages people, because it's not, it has the highest correlation of any other factor when it comes to engagement and how people view a great culture. The other thing I like about that statistic is that it's reported by the great companies, right? Fortune's 100 best companies. So again, these are, companies who practice this tend to be the best companies in the world. So all that is a backdrop, and I think a strong argument on the why. Look at fun and happiness in the workplace. I'm going to really get into now a little bit more of the how-to. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, my theory was to really treat fun as a process, not as an event, to do things consistently. Just like anything else in your business, if you do something once or twice, it's not likely to yield a great result. But if you do things consistently, you make it a priority, you pay attention to it, you will get better and you will get results. So that was really the theory. And a lot of the same customers that we started with 15 years ago are still our clients. We're heavily involved, not just in activities, at their company, but also at the highest level with planning, culture, engagement initiatives. So we tend to deal at that level, at the C level, with companies, and really find out how we can help them drive values, make values come to life through fun and happiness. So the way we do it, and I'll just take you through our process. I know we don't have a lot of time today, but just describe it to you, and then I'll be happy to forward more information to anyone who is interested. But we really start in a unique place. We find out what a company's shared experience is, and the shared experience is a way of identifying what is fun, what makes people happy within an organization. And you can do this with 2 people, you can do it with 800 people, and it works every time. So if you can think of a Venn diagram, 2 circles, and where X in the middle, X is what we're looking for. That's the shared experience. So if 2 people list what are the things that make them happy or bring them joy, we can find the shared experience with any 2 individuals or any 800 individuals or any 10,000 individuals. So we start there instead of the traditional team building model is, hi, I'm Johnny Team Building Company. Here's the 5 things that I say are fun for you. Pick one. That doesn't work so well anymore. We really look at what's fun for an organization, what's fun for a department. Really, it sets you up for success. And when you ask people, they're happy to share that data with you. So we compile that data, and that's a basis for where we start. So the shared experience is kind of a signature, part of our process, and it's where we really start with a company. And we also, as part of that questionnaire, if you will, that survey, we do measure. We start with a baseline about where that company is. So we assess companies and start with a baseline that we can measure from and show improvements. So from there, we really get into the laws of fun. And these are, you can think of them as the universal truths of fun, things that we learned in our 15 years of delivering fun in every conceivable workspace with, as few as a few people to, as many as thousands, and just doing this consistently every day. The reason we've delivered more fun in the workplace than anybody is because we do these brief but consistent things. So instead of doing, one annual holiday party or summer picnic for a client, we're usually doing 10, 12, as many as 15 things a year, small, brief. So our first law of fun is leadership buy-in. So leadership buy-in or participation, if a leader does not, truly believe that this is a good thing for their employees, we won't really get engaged. The chances of success drop dramatically when a leader's not bought in. We find that we can be 50 to 60% effective in an organization where it's being driven from the bottom up, or in one department where a leader recognizes the value, but it will never disseminate throughout the entire organization if the top leaders in the company don't believe in the value or don't support it. We are 100% successful where the top leaders embrace and participate. So it really takes a progressive leader to recognize the value and that people need restorative breaks during the course of the days, the weeks, the months at work. And that's our very first law of fun. Next comes the 3 C's. And the first C is consistency. So we found this to be absolutely imperative that if you do things, as I mentioned earlier, consistently throughout the course of a year, you'll yield a much, much better result. And when I say consistent, I'm also going to say brief, because most people don't have 2 hours or 4 hours for a team building event. What we recommend is 15 to 30 minutes once a month. 15 to 30 minutes once a month. So that's not a big time commitment or investment. And these are low production activities. So they don't require a lot of money. They're easy to implement. You can implement a lot of them yourselves. So think brief, consistent, 15 to 30 minutes once a month. On company time is the second C, on company time, and where possible. So, the after work activities, like I mentioned before, really do not resonate with employees. Employees would rather be spending time with their families, or, doing their, personal things after work. So I wouldn't say never, after work. Even in our company, we have fun during the day, but we also, get together because we like each other after work from time to time. So, but the majority of this should be on company time. The third C is compliant, and compliant with your culture. So we wouldn't want anybody to get fired over having fun. It should be compliant with your HR department. We're very careful in designing programming so that it is, all-inclusive and non-threatening. That's another law of fun we have, but it should definitely be compliant. So compliant, all-inclusive, and non-threatening. And finally, not as important as the other things that I've mentioned so far, but still very important to pay attention to, is it should be fun for all the senses. So, think of a nice space. If you're going to do an engagement or a fun activity, step outside of the typical cube farm, maybe where you're working, and it should be in a pleasing environment. That could be a conference room, it could be a lobby, it could be outside in the parking lot. You don't have to leave your business space. Just maybe get a little outside of your work area. And then, there should always be some music. We highly encourage music to be a part of any, fun activity. It just automatically kind of breaks down barriers for people, gets people in a, open, receptive, happy mood. So a little music. Food is a big draw. So even if it's just, cookies and just something to, pleasing to eat, is always, again, something to pay attention to. So fun for all the senses is important. So we talked about the shared experience, starting with something that, everybody likes, identifying those things that are common, things that people share as fun in common. And then we talked about the laws of fun. And now I'm going to talk about we call it the creative inventory. And there's 4 items that make up our creative inventory. And this is the very process that we use to design a fun activity. And you can certainly do the very same thing within your workplace. So the creative inventory, there's 4 pillars to it. The first is forum. So where can fun happen? Where are the opportunities for fun in the workplace? And remember, these can be as brief as 5 minutes, as long as 30 minutes. Usually 15 minutes is kind of the sweet spot. But forum, so it could be a conference room, again, lobby, anywhere within your business space. It could be a forum, could be an email, so you can send out, an email might be a forum or a way to communicate something fun. But generally, we're getting people together to interact with one another and not using technology so much. And then themes. So themes can be the shared experience. What are the things that people like at your place of business, your employees? What do they enjoy? What do they like? So if cooking is one of those things, let's design an activity around cooking. She could be sharing recipes. If it's sports, we can modify sports events always to be to be able to modify something to play in the workplace, right? So I use the example of football. People like football. There's the paper football. You can design, make your own football, play it on a conference table. There's all kinds of ways to modify things. I had somebody play the other day. They came up with it. Somebody said dodgeball, and I said, well, geez, HR would never approve that. You're not going to play dodgeball in the office. But they took these little stress balls. They put on some safety glasses and had some rules around it, but, played a miniature version of dodgeball in the office. It took 5 minutes. It was, hilariously fun. So think about, these micro activities. So forums, where does the fun happen? Themes, what is the fun about? So that's your shared experience. It could also be values, your company values. So we can create a fun activity around a value. And I can give you some examples of those. And then the activities themselves is the third column, the third pillar of the creative inventory, the activities themselves. And again, we're creating an activity in this brief time frame, all-inclusive, non-threatening, following all the laws of fun. And then finally, the fourth is pre and post game. So how do you announce something prior? How do you build a little bit of excitement leading up to an activity? So if you're going to do something on a Thursday afternoon, for example, you might want to announce it the week before via an email or some signage, little notes around the office just to build some excitement. And then certainly during and after, we call post game. Photographs, videos are the things that most people think, but you can also be a small trophy or an award, a certificate of some kind. So recognizing somebody for participating or for winning if it's a competition. So those are the four pillars of creative inventory: forums, themes, activities, and pre and post game. When we build these out with companies, we find that there are hundreds of combinations, right? So there's no shortage of ideas of things that you can do in the workplace. There are, most people automatically, are drawn to the holidays and typical themes that are out there. But if you go to, if you jot this down, holidayinsights.com, there's a theme or holiday for every day of the year. So it could be, National Pet Day or French Fry Day or, you name it, there's something. So if you get stuck, just visit holidayinsights.com. You'll find plenty of themes. So based on the shared experience, following the laws of fun, setting up the creative inventory, you can come up with literally hundreds of activities, and we call them micro activities, that you can do during the course of the day, weeks, months within your work environment and compliant with your culture that will be highly engaging, memorable, and really drive a result. Okay, so that's a a lot of information in a short period of time, but I did want to leave some time for, for questions. And again, I'd be happy to send you the process, in a either PowerPoint format, or we have it in several different ways. It's also in our book, Playing It Forward, but I've got, happy to send you, a PowerPoint, no charge. So any questions about the process that we use for engaging fun in the workplace?
So if anybody has questions, you can unmute your microphone. You can either type the questions in the chat box area, or you can unmute your microphone or telephone and ask them out loud. I'm going to ask a question, Nick. So are these are they task-oriented activities, or are just breaks in the day? Like,
yeah, good question. So they're really just meant to be, restorative breaks,
okay.
and what we recommend at first is to plan, really, plan.
Your sound is going out. Okay. It sounds like you're very far away.
So let me get a little closer here. So can you hear me okay now?
It's faint, but I can hear you better.
Okay. So what we recommend is that you do schedule these activities, and over a period of time, they become a little more organic, and people will have these really brief, breaks that, again, are more organic and don't require as much planning. But at first, at start, we definitely recommend planning these activities at a specified time for them to happen. Think of a meeting break as the most obvious one. So we all attend meetings that are probably, in a lot of people's opinions, too long and too boring. So if you can take 5 minutes during a meeting break and open it with a little fun, that goes a long way. It makes for a lot more engaging meeting. People will be more creative in that meeting as a result of fun activity. Good question. Others? Any other questions?
Are there any other questions? Again, ask them out loud, unmute your microphone, or type them in the chat box area.
Question for when your team is mainly remote and not in the same meeting space or workspace, what are some events or things that you suggest doing?
Yeah, so great question. It's probably one of the biggest call outs we get today is for remote workers. So we developed what we call Video Connect, and we do a series of videos where they're trivia challenges for the most part. They're 2 to 5 minutes. They can go out to thousands of employees at one time, or as few as 10, workers who are remote. But we can do things via video, and that tends to be a really good solution. We also have what we call Breakbox, and Breakbox is a subscription box, it's fun in a box, if you will. So we ship an activity to, if we're talking about different locations of a company. So I'm going to use a bank as an example. We do this in the banking industry. So there might be 15 bank locations, and they, on a given day, are going to all play that game or activity at in and around the same time, and they'll record scores, or they'll take pictures and they share it with everybody. There's a little inter-branch competition, and even if somebody's not there for the activity, they can share it via a video or a picture later. So we try to invite as many remote workers and capture as many people as possible. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you for your question. Are there any other questions? I have one of course. So you mentioned a lot of good research and statistics and the positive outcomes that result from having employees more engaged in the workplace, like retention, productivity increases, sales, job satisfaction, and innovation. So why do you think that some companies are slow to adopting engagement strategies with all of the success that it has and can result from?
That's the $1 million question. It's really a good one. So what we find is that traditionally in the workplace for years and years and years, right? Just the way we've been programmed, it's really about just working hard, right? That's been the American way. Um, it's just part of our fabric and fiber. And
Hmm.
you will find, there's no question about it, that younger leaders, this is partly generational. So,
Hmm.
younger leaders are more receptive to these concepts. Some older leaders have a more difficult time with this. They see it as soft skills. They don't, believe in it. And that's why I do say that it really requires leadership, buying.
Iron.
What's happening though in any given industry, um, the people that are doing this are winning, right? It's
Hmm.
I'll say like it's very hard to recruit, and we've got a very good environment, economy, and people are hiring. If you're an accounting firm or legal firm or any kind of company that's trying to hire, um, millennials and younger generation, they're shopping for jobs on websites like the Muse, MUSE. If you look at the Muse.com, they just highlight and feature cool companies, companies with a great culture, workplace environment, and that's where they're going to work. If your company looks boring or stale on the website and doesn't address culture or workplace environment, you're not likely to be able to attract the best and the brightest. So
Hmm.
that is really getting um, some of these more traditional companies to turn around because they can't get the talent. So they're really starting to feel the impact of that. So
Wow.
it's changing. It's just slow to change. But great question.
So I agree. Leaders do set the tone for the culture of the organization. So if the leaders are not as engaged or connected, it tends to have a trickle down effect to the employees who follow their lead. So it is a great presentation. Are there any other questions? I don't see anything coming across in the chat box area. So thank you, Nick, and thank you everyone for your participation in our professional development webinar series. Again, you will receive an email with details on how to obtain the HRCI credits and the certificate via the email that you registered with. So again, lastly, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them while you have Nick on the line. I'm also going to send out a link to the recorded session.
So thank you, Lynette. And I did want to let people know again that I'm happy to send a in-depth presentation on the process for anyone who's interested.
And also let them know how they can get in touch with you regarding your services as well, please.
Sure, sure. So at the bottom of the page here, and it's cut off a little bit on mine, but it's the fund, funddept.com is our website, thefunddept.com. You can also reach me directly at Nick at thefunddept.
It's still low. Can anybody hear him, or am I just the only one having audio challenges? Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure, sure. So the best way through the website is THEFUNDEPT. So the fund DEPT department.com, and you can make an inquiry directly through there.
Great. So thank you, Nick, for today's webinar, and thank you everyone for your participation in today's webinar. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.